Reaction trails dissolution of Rivers APC. Pat Otomi speaks on political crisis in Rivers State. Minister of Interior orders investigation into allegation of terror financing against correctional service personnel. Court affirms election of Nasarawa State Governor. On the foreign scene, Pope Francis describes ongoing war in Gaza as terrorism. I'm Ifichuku Moyeli with the news. The immediate past publicity secretary of the APC in Rivers State, Darlington Wuju, says the state working committee is studying the announcement that it be dissolved. Mr. Wuju said this following an announcement by the party's national publicity secretary, Felix Morka, that a new caretaker committee has been set up to run the party affairs for 6 months. Mr. Wuju, who spoke to our correspondent, says the state working committee cannot be dissolved in the media.
Because you do not dissolve an elected executive of a political party, well structured, well organized as the APC. You do not dissolve it on the pages of newspapers or through radio broadcasts. So the working committee is studying it, and will give an adequate and appropriate response to it.
Yesterday, the APC National Working Committee dissolved the Rivers State executives of the party at all levels. The party National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka announced the end of his decision to appoint a 7-member caretaker committee to steer the party's affairs in the state for the next 6 months. Mr. Morka, who read out the party's decision, disclosed that the caretaker committee is mandated to conduct a comprehensive and fresh electronic party registration of all members in the state.
Dissolution of the executive committees. 1.1. The executive committees of the party in Rivers State at all levels are hereby dissolved. 2. Appointment of caretaker committee. 2.1. A caretaker committee shall be appointed to undertake the following responsibilities. A. The caretaker committee at the state chapter is mandated to conduct a comprehensive and fresh electronic party registration of all members in the state.
The caretaker committee has Tony Okocha as chairman and Eric Wibani as secretary. Others are Chibike Ikenga, Stephen Abolo, Sylvester Vidin, Karibi Danjumbo and Darlene Amadi. He said the caretaker committee will be inaugurated on Friday, November 24th at the party's National Secretariat, Abuja. Earlier, the APC in Rivers State said the ongoing political crisis in the state was not enough reason to abandon Rivers people in poverty. The former publicity secretary of the APC in the state, Darlington Wuju, said this in a statement. Mr. Wuju said the call became necessary following the increasing disconnect between the people and the government in the state, the weakness of government policies, and the silence of the state government in tackling increasing poverty in the state. He said the Rivers State governor must come up with a clear development agenda and an actionable plan of execution that can justify the hundreds of billions of naira the state gets in 1 year. He called on the state government to initiate reforms aimed at cutting down on tax payment for private business owners in the state to stimulate business investment. Meanwhile, a renowned political economist, Pat Otomi, says Rivers State is losing resources as the current political crisis in the state lingers. Professor Otomi said this in an interview with correspondent Choma Ezenwafo.
We don't have a democracy in Nigeria. In a democracy, what matters is the will of the people. But the impression has somehow been created that there is a cabal that captures the state. When people focus mainly on how to corner power through godfathers, part of this machine arrangement, it really stops being a democracy. And the people are worse for it because all the state resources go into oiling that machinery. Part of what has happened as a result of it is that some people are giving up on the democratic system.
Professor Otomi urged civil society organizations to scrutinize the governance system and ensure that political office holders are held responsible for their actions.
Can these politicians justify the amount of public money that is being spent in these games that they play? Part of it is the failure of civil society. Because if civil society were alive and awake, the politicians would be called to account for these things. It is important for civil society to organize itself, to say enough is enough.
Moving on, Governor Fubara believes that recognizing duplicate projects between the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and whole states shows that the Commission's management understands its challenges. Governor Fubara said this during a courtesy visit by the NDDC board and management to the Government House.
You just mentioned that as one of the major loggerheads between NDDC and state. It shows that this particular commission and the management understands the problem of NDDC vis-a-vis their host states. For we, our support is to ensure that every other legislative, administrative, and also community support to enable you discharge your duty seamlessly, we will give it to you.
Earlier, the chairman of the board of the NDDC, Chiedu Ebie, said the new board will ensure that projects are done based on the needs of the people to reduce duplication of projects.
We have 9 state reps. That will be one of their main responsibilities, to make sure that they are in constant communication and in touch with state governments to ensure that projects are based on needs. Needs assessment will need to be done. And once we're able to achieve that, then we would reduce the possibility of duplication of functions and would also be attending to the specific needs of the people.
In other news, residents of Eneka Rumosuwo have expressed their concern with the flood situation in the area. They say flash floods affect their livelihood, making the area almost uninhabitable for them. In an interview with a correspondent, they say the flood has hiked the price of transportation in the area. They called on the government to help mitigate the flood and restore normalcy to the area.
People have been suffering. Rumosuwo community have been suffering from this issue for years now. We have been suffering. Both the keke people, no road, they hike the price of a keke. But government should come and help us. We have been suffering.
This water is terrible. Government should help us. This suffering is too much.
Government should really come and intervene because the water is really causing a lot of stress. I can remember waking up early in the morning, especially as it rained today. That water has increased, and I'm very sure by tomorrow morning people will find it difficult to transport across that water. So they should come and intervene and fix the road. In fact, if it's just to fill that particular spot.
Some keke cannot walk. Even to use leg, they cannot walk because of the water. We need government to do something about the water, then to open gutter so that the water can flow. So many people have passed because of the water.
The International Committee of the Red Cross ICRC in Nigeria yesterday says over 25,000 people have been reported missing and registered with the Red Cross in the past 10 years. The public relations officer Aliyu Dawobe said these individuals were cases brought to the attention of the Red Cross by their relatives. Still to come, Minister of Interior orders investigation into allegation of terror financing against correctional service personnel. Stay with us.
Track with Nigeria Info.
Can PFN disown bishops?
Talking about Mourinho and AS Roma. Follow the Bala join forces with Mourinho.
And then so the aviation workers also want to join the strike.
Your access to all the top stories and more. Let's talk.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
You're welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has affirmed the election of Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule. The court also set aside the October 2nd judgment of the Nasarawa State Election Petitions Tribunal that sacked APC Sule and declared David Ombugadu, candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP, winner of the governorship election. The Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunjiojo has ordered the Controller General of the Nigeria Correctional Service Haliru Nababa to investigate an allegation against service personnel. Chief of Defense Staff General Chris Musa had accused some officials of the Correctional Service of conspiring with inmates to finance the operations of terrorists. Now, in business, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Melek Kyari, says Nigeria will be a net exporter of petroleum products in 2024. In entertainment, Rema has become the first African artist to have his album appear on the Billboard 2023 End of the Year chart, with his debut album, Raves and Roses, finishing the year at number 157. In sport, Napoli forward Victor Osimhen steps up his recovery from injury after taking part in team training yesterday. In all the international scene, Catholic Pontiff Pope Francis says the ongoing war in Gaza has gone beyond war of to terrorism. The pontiff said this when he met separately with Israeli relatives of hostages held in Gaza and the Palestinian prisoners in Israel. And that's a wrap of the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. Reaction is trailing the dissolution of Rivers APC. The Minister of Interior has ordered an investigation into an allegation of terror financing against correctional service personnel. And on the foreign scene, Pope Francis says the situation in Gaza has gone beyond war to terrorism. The news was edited by Onyekachi Musu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwumoyeli. Many thanks for listening.